Weekly Sauce, episode 64. We just figured out it was episode 64 because obviously we have no idea how to keep count. This is the third interview we're doing in 3 days. Second time he's been on. We don't have too many repeat customers because we like to, spread them out. But whenever we bring somebody in, that's a repeat customer, like a friend of the show, and we bring out the red carpet for him. But before we get to our guest, it's Mike's BBQ Rub. Visit Mike's BBQ Rub, MTL.com, and use Hot Sauce 10 for 10% off the entire site. I'm going to throw an additional promo here because we're talking about fantasy football. Hot Sauce Sports is sponsored by Hot Streak Fantasy. They're going to be getting into NFL. Right now they're in the MLB, so go check it out. Use Hot Sauce promo code. So if you have an iOS, Hot Streak Fantasy, Hot Sauce for the promo code. They'll match your deposit as a bonus. They'll match your initial deposit as a bonus. You put 50, they give you $50. Bet on the MLB. Learn how it's played. It's the best app, honestly. You pick 2 to 3 guys. You bet on if they're going to get a hit, a double, a single here and there, and you just make money. I've been killing it, and I killed it in basketball. I started shitting the bed in baseball, but now I'm starting to climb back up again. I'm having fun. They're moving into the NFL, so Hot Streak. Go on the iOS. If you have iOS, it's Hot Streak. Use Hot Sauce promo code, and they'll match your bonus. I'm Terry Tam, as usual, with Alex the Intern. How's it going, buddy?
I'm super excited, man. Fucking fantasy football seasons are around the corner. Love to talk about it.
I love talking about it because last year I drafted for 5 teams, biggest mistake of my life. But I know the guy that we have right here probably has 17 teams. The fantasy football hustler with the sickest glasses I've ever seen. How's it going, buddy?
What up, guys? Oh yeah, and you've only seen half of them. There we go. Yeah. If I got to get crazy, we'll flip them up on you.
I love it, man. What have you been up to, man? You been crazy busy now or what?
Oh, man. I mean, it never stopped for me. So, I mean, as soon as Super Bowl ended, we literally started a draft for Dynasty the next day. So I did a bunch of Dynasty leagues. Last year, I was in 20 leagues. I think I'm pushing like 50 right now. So it's getting a little crazy. But it's because I'm giving back,
How many hours does that take? Like 20 leagues. How many hours a week is that?
A lot. I mean, really, it's like certain hours out of my, Monday for, waivers and Tuesday, things like that. And then making sure I'm double checking everything on Thursday and Sunday. So yeah, it's a lot. It's literally a weekly process to set lineups right now.
I love it, man. How many leagues did you win?
So I won 2 out of the 20, and lucky it was two of the big money ones. So literally paid for all the other, buy-ins and everything. And I was in the profit.
But also, this is your business too, right? So it's not like you're just doing it for fun. Like, I don't know anybody for fun that's doing more than 5 leagues. I did 5 leagues last year, and I didn't make the playoffs in any single one of them because I was spread out too thin, man. I was like, I tried to draft the same guys, and I did for the most part. I had like 4 or 5 of the same guys. Like, in every league, I had James Conner. Like, I tried to be even across the board, but I committed myself too thin. This year, I'm bringing it down to 3, and that's it. 3 is enough for me, I think. Alex, how many leagues are you in?
Huh? Like you said, it is my business, and so like I got a big Patreon following, and most of them get on there because they want to join some really dope leagues. So yeah, pretty much all of these leagues are with people on the internet, not really home leagues. I only got 2 of them now.
Yeah, Alex, how many leagues do you have?
Well, I have my own league. I have a private league, and I'm with you guys at Hot Sauce Sports.
All right. I mean,
just 2.
I was in a keeper league. I'm a commissioner for a keeper league. We decided no more keepers. We might revisit it in a couple of years, but I love the keeper idea. But in football, it's tough because there's just way too many injuries in camp, man. And it's like if you're not preparing yourself, like if let's say like I had Barkley one year when that year he tore his ACL, and I was fucked. Even though like I was able to keep another player from my team. I was fucked for the season because I had this handicap. So I put him on the IR. I didn't get a pick that was the same value as him, so it sucks. What do you think about keeper leagues in those regards?
So I actually would rather do either Dynasty or no keeper at all for redraft. So I'd rather keep the entire team, because at least then you already got, some backups, things like that, just in case anything happens. But yeah, for redraft, I'm not really a fan of the keepers, and I really try to draft after the 3rd week of the preseason, just because you never know what's going to happen with injuries, like you said.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And so this year's going to be different. There's a lot of guys getting injured in camp. A little preseason action so far it's happened. What have you seen so far? Who are the sleepers? Who are guys like CMC? We assume McCaffrey's going to go number 1, right? We're assuming 1, 2, 3 at least. Is Derrick Henry? Like I wanted to know, does Derrick Henry still have the same value as he did 2 years ago and last year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of people who think that, he's had the crazy workload, the last couple years, and this is the year that he's going to get hurt. But he's really only had the workload 2 years in a row. So it's not like some of these guys who have a crazy workload for 5 years and then they just can't stop getting injured.
Yeah.
So he's a mid first round guy, maybe a late first round guy in a super flex, but he's one of the guys, who's still going high. A guy that I really like who's outside of the top 5-6 is Gibson. I feel like he's going to be like CMC light this year, and he's got the same coaching regime that CMC used to have.
Oh, really?
And so they're going to get him involved with a lot of stuff, and he's like my favorite second round running back to draft.
And speaking of Barkley, we spoke about it earlier. Barkley, so 2 seasons in a row where he missed so much action. Is this the season that, he proves everyone wrong and just explodes?
I really think it is. I mean, it was week 2 of last season, and if you look at both injuries, they were both really freak, like just tackles and falls. Like when it happened last year, there was 2 tackles in a row. One where he fell super weird on his arm. Looked like he almost hyperextended his arm. I thought that was going to injure him. Literally goes back in the next play and then just falls really weirdly, like on his leg. So I just feel like it was bad luck. He's had almost a year to recover. And even if he doesn't play week 1 or week 2, I still feel like he's going to be worth the value. As long as you got a couple extra guys to where you're not worried about him week 1 or 2. I've drafted him in a bunch of teams and I'm not worried about it.
So you've already done drafts?
Yeah, so it's because I'm in a million leagues, and a lot of them are Dynasty, so those ones have been going on from February to July. And, there's just some leagues where some people just would rather do a slow draft because they're going to be in a bunch of leagues, and they would rather do it a little bit earlier, just kind of get it out of the way. I've got probably like 10 drafts starting next week, so it's going to be crazy either way.
What's your average ADP? What's your grade for all the drafts so far? Like those Yahoo grades.
I haven't drafted in Yahoo. I've only drafted in Sleeper, and Sleeper doesn't give the draft grades. But one thing that I've noticed about Yahoo, those draft grades have gotten worse and worse. It's like if you have a top 3 RB, it's like you'll get like an A.
Yeah.
If you don't have a top 3 RB, you're gonna get like a B-.
It's basically if you drafted a player that was lower in his ADP than where you drafted him. If you had a higher ADP than where you drafted him, then you're getting an A. Like that's basically what it is. Like if you want it, and I love like the write up too. It's classic. I love Yahoo as an interface. It works, but that part of it's kind of cheesy. It doesn't tell me anything. And chances are after 2 weeks, those grades mean absolutely nothing. Alex.
Yep.
So I've been always interested in Dynasty. Could you explain me like how it works exactly?
Yeah, what's the difference between a Dynasty and a keeper?
Yeah.
So, keeper, you keep like 1 or 2 players or whatever. I mean, I know you can have up to like 5 or 7 keepers. So you keep a couple players and you get them in like whatever round you get them in, as a keeper. Dynasty, you're going into your draft knowing that you're going to have this team for a couple years, at least 2 or 3 years. I think that's the average for Dynasty leagues. And so every year you're just drafting rookies only. You keep your team from year to year. And like one of the Dynasty leagues at Cam Akers was my rookie pick last year, but I also drafted Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. So he went out early, and a lot of people got screwed on that, but I had Darrell Henderson, so I'm not worried about it too much. But that's the downfall about dynasties. Usually draft a lot earlier. My dynasty teams have like 50 roster spots because we're doing offense and IDP. But usually it's just really big rosters, and there's a lot more trades. That's one thing that's cool about dynasty. You can trade draft picks.
Yeah, that's the part. I'm in a dynasty hockey league, so I don't know. I don't know if you know anything about hockey, but I'm in a dynasty hockey league. I suck in that league, even though I have like the first overall pick every year. It's tough too because you're playing with we play with a cap. We play with the NHL cap system, and it's a hard cap, right? So it's tough to manage. But I find football you can have your team is good from the draft. That can change if that can change as soon as you have one guy that knows how to manage his team properly. And that's the key to fantasy, I find, and it's something that I lacked last year. I didn't give a shit about my teams. That's why I didn't make the playoffs in any of them. Even our league, like the last few weeks, I just didn't even set my lineup. I was just so discouraged from like all the injuries I had. Barkley, Connor, like all of them. I had every injury, name it. And So yeah, so like teams that know how to manage that, not like me, those are the guys that are successful, and that's where you make your money. The guys that know how to manage.
I feel like for redraft leagues, the draft is maybe like 20%, maybe 25%. Yeah. You may get lucky and you may not get any injuries, but the way it works now, like you got to really get lucky not to get injuries, and if you got to be working the wire week to week. So like what I do, just to kind of be a step ahead of everybody else, I put out my waiver wire video on Monday. Everybody else puts out their waiver wire video on Tuesdays. Just so I'm trying to get people ready on Monday, not just the last second. And then I got all my start.
This is all on your Patreon?
No, this is just on YouTube. So
okay, nice.
People who are on Patreon, if you're on the superstar tier or higher, which is the $10 tier or higher, you get one-on-one DM access. So there's a lot of people who, I mean, they want to support me, but they also want a bunch of access to where they can just DM me, whenever, and tell me who should I pick up. Here's like my specific, free agents available. And I feel like people like that because everyone's leagues are a little different.
It's true.
Yeah, for sure. So this year, well, we just did our draft lottery. I'm getting the second pick, and Terry's getting the pick number 9. It's full PPR. It's a standard format, so only one QB. Who should I go with, and who should who should Terry go with? Yeah.
So you're either going to be getting CMC or Dalvin Cook. More than likely Dalvin Cook. And in a PPR league, I mean, I still think Dalvin Cook, he's worth that pick. I mean, he gets a lot of catches out of the backfield. Their whole, system is predicated around the run. We see the guys behind him like Alexander Madison, like he's really just trash, so it's really him or nothing else. And with the 9th pick, that's a little bit tougher because it depends on who drops. Like I see Barkley dropping there a lot. I actually got Henry. Well, it's a super flex league, so it's a little bit different, but he dropped all the way to the 11th pick for me. Kamara, I've seen him drop, to like the 5th or 6th. Who knows if he'll make it to the 9th. Gibson, he's a little bit of a reach there, but I feel like he's going higher and higher. And not going to lie, I really like taking Travis Kelce with that 9th or 10th pick, because someone usually takes him on the turn.
Yeah.
And the difference of running back between the 9th pick and then your second pick, the 3rd pick in the or the 4th pick in the second round, it's not that big of a difference. So I'm really prone to picking Kelce right there. And that's like the biggest positional advantage you can get at any position.
Yeah, so you rank Kelce higher than somebody like Kittle, or maybe somebody like, I mean, what do we actually, I want to talk about this, but we'll talk about it after talk about the Kelce Kittle comparison. So Kelce, obviously fantasy wise, unbelievable. Is this like kind of like the last year he's gonna be able to produce this much? Are we looking at this being his climax, and are we looking at George Kittle kind of like replacing him?
I don't think so. I mean, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, and as long as, Kelce is healthy, I mean, the way they use him like a wide receiver. He's great in blocking. Him and Patrick Mahomes have, one of the best rapport in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is super accurate, can buy the extra time. Like, I think Kelce's got a handful of years left. Yeah. You look at guys like Tony Gonzalez who go into their late 30s. Like, if you're healthy and you got a good quarterback and you're in a good system for the tight ends, like, you're going to thrive. Kittle, he's just got to stay healthy. I still have him as my second tight end. He gets hurt a lot. He plays hard. He puts out a lot of blocks. He catches a lot over the middle. Like, Kelce gets a lot in stride where he's wide open.
Yeah.
Kittle doesn't have as good of a QB, to where he's getting hit in stride. He's catching the ball, getting hit a lot. He's going up for the ball, getting hit on the way down. All of those things, like, it just adds on, and I think that's why he's got hurt the last few years. I still like him. He would be more of a third-round guy for me, though, not a
third
late
round
first,
Kittle.
second.
Wow, shooting all over my universe right now. I was more of the like tight ends. I would never reach for a tight end. Like, you can, like, there's the top tier, then there's the kind of the middle guys where you'll always get like roughly the same amount. Like Jason, I'm a Cowboys fan, so Jason Witten for me was like the guy. I would just always draft him because he would get me 5 catches, maybe 50 yards, 60 yards. Probably not a touchdown because he wouldn't get a lot of touchdowns, but he would get me like 11 to 12 points a game, which I was more than okay with for a tight end. But now I'm looking at New England, and they got Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry over there. Is it worth it to just double up and draft both these guys, or are we looking at Hunter Henry as the clear number one?
Well, especially right now, I don't think Hunter Henry is the clear number one. He's already got injured on 2 separate occasions in the preseason, and the Patriots' offense is really hard to learn. So I'm not saying he's not going to learn it, but I feel like, missing pretty much the entire preseason, I feel like that's going to slow him down a little bit. And I feel like right out of the gates, Jonnu Smith is going to be the guy to own. I feel like Jonnu's going to be more the red zone guy. I feel like Hunter Henry may be more the yardage guy. I'm not saying they're going to be Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, but the way that the Patriots use the double tight end set, I feel like both can easily get into the top 12 on almost any given week.
What about David Njoku? What are we looking at for him? Is he worth it? Is he like a waiver wire pickup? What are we looking at there?
Yeah, he's a waiver wire pickup. I think that he's a little bit more talented than Hooper, but he also keeps getting hurt. Like, that's the problem with him. He also could be someone who gets traded this year. I believe that this year is the last year on his contract. But yeah, I mean, the talent is there. Talent is there, but he keeps getting hurt. I feel like if they're going to try to move him, they're going to want to get him involved, kind of early, maybe get him a touchdown or two, and then maybe ship him off somewhere else.
Because he's kind of been on the fence too, right? So,
yeah.
Alex?
So we've seen people talk about different draft strategies. They're talking about zero running back. They're talking about anchor running back. And then others are like, oh, just go best available. Does it really depend on your draft position, or does it depend more on on the situation that you see?
I feel like it's going to depend on your draft position. That's the biggest thing. And then it's going to depend if you play in a 1 QB league or if you can start 2 QBs like a super flex or a 2 QB league. But draft position, that's what makes the entire difference. Because, if you get the first pick and you're in a 1 QB league, you're picking Christian McCaffrey. If you get the 5th or the 6th pick, now you might be debating, getting a top wide receiver or maybe mixing in Kelsey, versus the top 6 running back, type thing. So I feel like people at the end of the first round or maybe in the middle-ish, like the weird part, those might be the people who might be a little bit more prone to going 0 RB.
So, I mean, listen, I don't know if you like 2 quarterback systems.
I do. I love it.
I can't stand it. I can't. I hate, because I'm like a traditional fantasy football guy. Like, I like 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, throw me 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and I'll get sexy, I'll put in the nice lingerie, and I'll get an additional flex in there. I'll go wide receiver, tight end flex, and then a running back, tight end flex, or maybe just 2 flexes randomly. You know what I mean? So I'll just get different. But I'm not a big fan of IDP. I'm in an IDP league. I'm not a big fan of that. I like, I'm a traditionalist. You know what I mean? I'm a stay-home kind of guy. I'm a pocket passer. So 2 quarterbacks, I mean, it's tough. Are we do you draft guys that don't play each other when you're drafting 2 quarterbacks? Do you draft guys that, are you looking at the schedule when you're drafting 2 quarterbacks? What are you looking at there?
So the thing with the 2 quarterback leagues, I mean, it gets thin. The herd gets thin real quick. In a 1 QB league, you may only have 14, 15 QBs, go off the board in the entire draft.
Yeah.
In the Superflex league, you may have 20 QBs go off in the first 5 rounds, so it definitely, it increases the strategy. I feel like in the NFL, or really in all sports, quarterback is the most important position in all of sports. It's pretty tough to argue that. So I just feel like in fantasy football, 1 QB leagues, the quarterback is just so devalued that it's almost disrespectful, to the quarterback. So if it's a 1 QB league and you have some interesting scoring settings, to where maybe interceptions are, -4 or -5 points where it really hurts, maybe it's 15 yards per point, for passing, then that kind of separates the top, from the one seeded quarterback versus the 10 or 12. But in a lot of these standard leagues, I mean, the number 1 QB is separated by 50 points at the end of the season from the number 12. So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So I mean, you can always go.
Everyone does. Yeah, everyone does the same strategy. That's kind of my beef with 1 QB leagues.
So when you're looking at defenses, I take a defense that I know that I'm gonna like throughout the entire season, that runs I've always liked taking the Patriots defense. They just get points. They get turnovers. I've always liked taking the Pats D. And obviously their schedule now, not so much. Before, they were playing the Dolphins, Bills, and the Jets when all 3 of them are shit, and all of a sudden 2 of them are good. You know what I mean? So I'll probably stay away from the Pats. Is that how you think about it going through? Do you look at just the defense, or do you look at the entire schedule with it?
So I don't play in a lot of leagues with team defense. Like one of my mottos is "fuck team defense." I like IDP, but I just try to go for a late defense. And a lot of times it is the Pats. If we look at their schedule, even the Bills. They didn't, one out of the two games, the Pats defense still did good against them. They got a couple turnovers, forced a couple fumbles, and the Jets and the Dolphins, Patriots are still going to do good against them. You're talking about a rookie QB and a second-year QB. Like, Patriots shut those kind of teams down. So Pats are one of those late teams. I never drafted defense early because whoever was the top scoring defense last year, 1,000,000%, they are not going to be the top scoring defense this year. It's never happened. I don't think it's ever happened once that the top scoring defense one year repeats. So a team like I'd be looking at this year is maybe like the Broncos. I know that they were already, I'm going to say top half of the league last year, but I feel like they're probably undervalued for how good they actually are right now.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Broncos too, and that division. Obviously they're playing against San Diego. They can get W's there, but they might get exposed a little bit with Justin Herbert's huge arm, and then the Chiefs. How good they are. But then you're playing the Raiders, and you're playing the Raiders twice, whose offense isn't completely great. But I don't know, man. When I look at a defense this year, I'm looking at I'm just gonna go. I think I'm gonna go balls deep to Tennessee because the rest of that division's complete garbage. The fact that you have to play against the Texans twice a year and their quarterback is, I think it's like Drew Miley or something. Who's the starting quarterback if it's not Sean Watson?
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
And then Mills is the backup quarterback right there. Yeah. And so one of my friends, Bogart, he calls Tyrod Taylor the usher because he always ushers in the new quarterback.
Yeah, that's what we were saying on the show. We were saying that on the show last week. Is that it's like the poor guy, man. He goes to San Diego, Justin Herbert. He goes to Cleveland, Baker Mayfield. Now he's in Houston. He's like, okay, I'm gonna chill, be Deshaun Watson's backup, and all of a sudden shit pops off, and he's stuck. He's stuck there being the starting quarterback. He just wanted to collect a few million and just chill with his family, and this guy has to go out and play football now. But it's interesting. That's why I'm going heavy on the Tennessee Titans this year.
So we always talk about sleepers. This year, past round 13, who do you see as sleeper?
Jacoby Myers is someone that I really love this year. I mean, he's pretty much free in drafts right now. And I know that, New England, they added a bunch of players. Like, they added Jonnu, they added Hunter Henry, they added Nelson Aguilar, they added Kendrick Bourne. But Jacoby Myers is the only one there who's, been there with the system for a few years. And I feel like a lot of people are just downgrading him and leaving him undrafted. I would draft him as my last draft pick on every team if he's available. I play in a lot of teams with Patreon members and things like that, and he keeps going higher and higher. But everyone listening here, Jacoby Myers, just pick him as your last pick.
Yeah, your last pick. You think he's gonna fall?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's going undrafted in most leagues. His ADP, I want to say, is in the 150s or something like that.
You're from SoCal or you're from NorCal?
SoCal, San Diego.
You're San Diego. Yes, it's true. So, do you still call them the San Diego Chargers? Or do you call them the LA Chargers?
No, yeah, they're the LA Chargers, and they're the enemies now. I don't cheer for them anymore since I left San Diego.
Oh, so where are you now?
Nowhere. Just my fantasy teams. That's why it's fun having a bunch, and I cheer for the players. It's more fun that way anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Do you draft your team based on what you name your team?
No, because I base my team name off of who I draft, unless it's a league that I already won the championship in, and I'll just keep my team name the same.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And which top player, let's say within the first 3 rounds, which top player do you think is going to bust this year?
Ooh, Jonathan Taylor, I think, is the guy who I'm really, really nervous about. I know that they said that Carson Wentz may come back, by week 1, and that other guard may come back by week 1, but they're down, as of right now, they're down 3 linemen, from their playoff, starting offensive line last year. I mean, you got Mack, who's coming back. You got Hines, who's still there. They love running the running back by committee. And I guess I hate the fact that he had such a cupcake schedule at the end of the season. And, he's going to have some of those same games against the Texans and stuff. But it's everybody forgot how kind of blah he was in the middle of the season. Yeah. And it's because they kept getting a lot of the running backs involved.
he's gonna have too much of a workload. I kind of feel the same way about the kid in Oakland. I'm forgetting his name, the Alabama player.
Josh Jacobs.
I'm kind of thinking the same way. I'm high on him. I think he'll do great, but the workload might be a bit too much for him. I don't think that he's going to be able to be the. I don't think he's going to be able to match the ADP that he has so far.
And the Raiders also got Kenyon Drake now as well.
Oh, there you go. So.
I think that Jacobs, he might be worth the price. He's been dropping. Like, he's been going as, like, running back 20 to 24 now. So it's leveling out to where it should be. I'm still nervous, though, because ever since Gruden got there, it just doesn't seem like they like giving him the ball. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
And Gruden's not. He doesn't run, like, he runs when he needs to, kind of thing. But he uses running backs more as receivers. He always has. And Josh Jacobs is a good receiver. So listen, it's a good game plan. But as in terms of fantasy, Josh Jacobs' value is right there where you said, 20 to 24. I don't think that he's a number one. I think he's a good RB2 and potentially a flex. But if you have him as your flex, I think you're golden. If he's your third running back, then you're chilling. Like, you're really chill.
Definitely.
What are we looking at? I'm a Cowboys fan, so I got to ask you, what are we looking at? CD Lamb, is him and Dak going to be the best number 1-2 punch in fantasy football this year? What are we looking at?
I don't know if they're going to be the best 1-2 punch, but I bet they're going to be up there. And we're talking about Dak, probably going for 5,000 yards, with the 17-game season now. And CD Lamb, seemed like he was his favorite target. Small sample size last year because he got hurt in week 4, week 5. But yeah, that's the connection's going to be there. Amari Cooper is the guy who he's always been kind of iffy with the production. I feel like CD Lamb is going to be a little bit more productive, than Amari's going to be. The guy that I really like is Gallup, though. You can get him so late. Like, he's one of the sleepers that I really like. Like, I think his ADP is like 120 or something like that, but really, really late. So, yeah, that's someone who later in double-digit rounds, I'm all about Gallup.
Yeah, I always try and get at least 2 Cowboys players on my team. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be Jason Witten and somebody else. I always try to get 2 because I know that they're they've always had a high-powered offense. So it's like, so if Zeke falls to me like at 7, is that a good pick?
Yeah, he's been going in the middle of the first round. End of the first round. Maybe beginning of the second round in super flex leagues.
So in our league, Alex, I think I have 9th pick. Alex got first pick. See how that works?
I got second.
Oh, second. Okay. Alex did the randomizer, and all of a sudden he gets second pick. Last year he didn't do the randomizer.
I did. I did the randomizer. Look, I even sent you the link.
I know. I saw it.
I sent you the link.
I saw it.
There's no change. There's no modifications.
Last year, Alex thought we screwed him over because we did a random, like, a marble race on YouTube, and he thought we screwed him over because he got picked last. And he's like, you did it on purpose. Like, honestly, it would have been so much funnier if we did it on purpose, but we just didn't.
What I use if you're ever looking for a cool randomizer, it's called 100-yard rush.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Perfect. There you go. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm having bad luck with that this year. I've gotten at the end of the draft and, like, every draft that I've used that with.
What's your favorite spot to draft in?
If we're talking just a normal redraft league, number one, number one produces the most championships. You're really the only team that gets 3 picks inside the top 25. So as long as you hit, you got the best chance to win.
Yeah, that people don't look at it like that. They're like, people always look at it because the best part about fantasy football, correct me if I'm wrong, is drafting. That's the best part. I can draft and just not play. I'll draft everybody's team just because it's so fun. I love it. Do my research like the night before, just like cramming. My girlfriend's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm studying. Leave me alone." But I like drafting at the end of the first round. Like, I like that spot, like the last 2-3 picks in between there, because I like seeing where everybody's going, kind of thing. Like seeing where their eyes are going. Like if they get a quarterback early, somebody goes Pat Mahomes, and I know he's gonna need a running back on the way back. So like little things like that. So I like to see that. Where if you draft first, you're kind of like you're in center ice. You're waiting to get hit. And so I like drafting at the end, and it kind of, and then when you come back, you get a nice pick, and then you get to chill, see the landscape a bit too. That's where I like to pick. Alex, what do you like to pick?
Normally I like to pick middle, like anywhere between 4 and 6. I like that spot because you get a pretty solid running back if you get the 4th pick, and then afterwards you can actually get another running back or a good receiver. So I'm I'm satisfied between 4 and 6.
Good. Well, listen, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Actually, I have one more question for our guest.
Go ahead,
because he's actually a stoner. As you guys probably seen his bung on the video.
I respect it.
Yeah, I love it. What's your favorite Munchies?
Oh.
So my answer would have been my answer would have been different a long time ago. Like I actually switched to getting off of the processed foods, and I actually stopped eating meat and dairy. So a lot of things have changed recently. So favorite munchie right now, man. I mean, this is such like a curveball, but it's going to be a black bean burger. That's where I'm switching right now. So, yeah, I don't. My munchies have completely changed from 1 year ago until now. That's for sure.
Lately, I changed for me too. Lately, I'm more of like a liquid sugar kind of thing, like tall glass of orange juice or like a small bottle of Coke or something like that. Like that really, like it really quenches my thirst, especially in this heat. Like we got a heat wave coming here in Montreal, and it's brutal, man. No AC in this place, so it's like I'm sweating, like I'm just like dripping over here. But we appreciate you coming on, man, giving us the fantasy advice, best fantasy advice in the world. Fantasy Football Hustler, that's where it is everywhere, right? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere.
Yep, just Fantasy Football Hustler on every podcast out there, and YouTube and Twitch TV,
and Patreon as well. If you want, direct access, I'm gonna join in for the fantasy season. I think I need it. I'm tired of losing, man. I need the inside info. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna register to the patreon.com/fantasy football hustler. Go check them out.
Patreon. So it's patreon.com/FF Hustler 420.
Even better. FF Hustler 420. That's Fantasy Football Hustler. As usual, this episode is brought to you by Mike's BBQ Rub. Visit Mike's BBQ Rub, MTL.com, and use Hot Sauce 10 for 10% off. Also, NFL season coming up. Hot Streak Fantasy is getting to the NFL. So, Hot Sauce promo code. They'll match your bonus. They'll match your deposit with a bonus. $50, they give it back to you. It's the best fantasy app in the world. We appreciate you coming on, Fantasy Football Hustler. That was fantastic. Sick glasses, sick bowl. Peace.
Appreciate you guys.
Good stuff, man.